And welcome back to KCAA Radio Live in Redlands, California. This is your host, Kim Yaeter with Take Your Power Back, California. Recall Gavin Newsom. We have in-house with us right now Mr. Anthony Trimino, gubernatorial candidate for California and CEO and founder of one of the fastest growing privately held companies in America, as well as contributing member of the Forbes Agency Council. Anthony has a unique approach of bringing people, ideas, and perspectives together to build solutions that address and overcome complex challenges facing business, healthcare, and local communities. While this may be his first political campaign, his family has a rich history of looking ahead to build a better future without the overreaching involvement of government. Like his parents and grandparents before, Anthony was born with an entrepreneurial spirit and a deep desire to build something from the ground up. He saw that the system was set up to keep minorities dependent on government and didn't promote independence of self-reliance, wanting to blaze a trail for those who would have the courage to follow. He is deeply rooted in faith and family. Anthony fights against government as usual politics and special interests and will aggressively and tirelessly work to protect your God-given freedoms and liberties, not restrict or limit them. Anthony, I listened to a video of your daughter on your website, and Cameron said, she said the words, it was so amazing. She says, my daddy taught me that anything is possible. If your daughter gets that anything is possible, the impact of that, what's possible for California right now if we vote yes on Recall Gavin Newsom?
Well, thank you for having me. What's possible for California right now is that we're able to fight to protect our freedoms and our liberties. I say this often, it is easier to fight to protect freedoms that you currently have than to earn them back. My grandfather fled communist Cuba in the 50s. These individuals recently, you've seen over the last month, there's an uprising. They're fighting for just basic human rights, basic freedoms, right, that we take for granted. They've been stripped of all of their freedoms and their rights under a communist regime. Fighting for those freedoms back is an almost insurmountable task for them. It's going to be nearly impossible until that government is overthrown. But here in America, we have these freedoms, we have these liberties, and we have these rights. This recall gives us a unique opportunity to send a message that we will not give up willingly our freedoms and our rights. Our freedom to, open our businesses, to go to church, to worship, to send our kids to school, freedom of, medical freedom. And so that's at stake right now. We have a unique opportunity to fight for the freedoms that we currently have before they're gone.
You've been fighting for the freedom of the people around you. People have been coming to you and sharing their story. What has that been like for you to hear people's story of how this whole thing has impacted them?
It's actually heart-wrenching at times. I've spoken across, our entire state, and I can't tell you how many families I speak to that are just discouraged. They've lost hope. They're talking about leaving California. So many businesses have already left. So many families are on the verge of leaving. So many families right now, and I'm talking about healthcare workers, police officers, firefighters, nurses, at risk of being fired and terminated because they've done the research on their own, have decided against getting the vaccine, or do not agree with mask mandates. And these are people who are fearful. Their way of life is being challenged and put at risk. So many people have already been fired because they have decided to stand up for their medical freedom. So it's disheartening, it's discouraging, it's sad, but there is still hope. The American dream, while it's on life support, there's still hope. September 14th is an opportunity for us to stand up and fight, push back, and resist. And so I encourage a lot of these families. I say, hey, don't be disheartened. Don't lose hope. Change is still possible. The American dream is still alive. And we, all of us, everyone listening, has to realize what's at stake September 14th. We all have to act, get activated, and activate those around us to fight for those freedoms that are at risk. And so my message is encouraging to people is that, God created man, man created government. Now government wants to play God. But our God doesn't live in Washington, D.C. Our God does not live in Sacramento. Our God is still alive and well on the throne, and we still have a unique opportunity to actually fight for our God-given inalienable rights, which are given to us by our Creator, not by government. And so no government has the ability to actually take from us.
Well said. Well said. What was the pivotal moment for you, Anthony? The pivotal moment where you said no more. If I don't stand up, who will? When was that? Tell us about that.
Well, you mentioned my children. I'd always taught my children that if you cannot find the solution, you need to be the solution. And we were going to leave. I'm a business owner, I run a successful company. California's not business friendly. I was on my way out. I was ready to leave California, go to Florida. It would make so much more sense to me. It would be so much easier for me to go to Florida. I'd pay less taxes, make more money, have less stress, and it's an open state. So, that's where my mind was. But my wife and my children were looking at me, and we were facing adversity, and we were facing conflict. And I just couldn't reconcile that I was going to teach my kids that when times got rough, when things got bad, that the solution is to pack up and leave. And so, I reconciled one day, and I realized that, you know what? They're watching. People around me are watching. My employees are watching. My family's watching, and my children are watching. What I do next will instill in them more than anything I've ever spoken. But what I actually do next will actually show them who I am and what I'm made of. And so I decided, you know what? We're going to dig our heels in. We're going to stay and fight. We're going to put all the power and leverage and prayer behind us. And we're actually going to, initially I was trying to find a candidate to get behind. That's what I was originally going to do. But when we go through, and as you guys have, you make a list of things that you require in a candidate. And as we started to look at the different candidates that we're running, we just felt like there wasn't somebody that checked all of our boxes. As a business owner, a family man, someone of faith, I just knew that there was nobody running that I could get behind wholeheartedly. So I decided to run myself.
I love it. And leading by example, not shrinking back, but standing up and taking your power back. So where do we go from here? The person that's listening to this right now, right? They haven't really been involved. They've listened to a lot of the news. They see a government that is, well, maybe they're helping us. Maybe this is best for us. Like, how do you speak to that?
Well, I think everybody, no matter what side of the line you are, Democrat, Independent, Republican, Christian, Catholic, Muslim, agnostic, it doesn't really matter. If you look at the last 15 months of our life, if you're listening to this, you were affected. You were affected in a negative way by our governor's policy. Either your children were kept from going to school, either you were kept from going to work, your business was shut down, your church was closed. I mean, our governor miscalculated, because what was intended to divide us actually united us. Because this is not about party lines. It's not even about religious lines. It's not about ethnic lines. This is about being a Californian fighting for freedom and liberty. This is about us coming together and saying enough is enough. That government shouldn't impede on our freedoms and liberties. As a business owner, I always say every business is essential to that person, to the employees, and the community it serves. Every place of worship is essential. It should never be closed down. So I would say to all of you that are looking at this like a political battle, not really feeling like it's something significant to do anything about, no. What our governor will do over the next 11 months, if he remains in office, could be irreversible. We could be in a state where we have vaccine verification and passport systems in place, where a free society is not allowed to be free, where you're going to have to show papers and documentation to go into a supermarket, to get on a bus, to get on a plane, to go to school, to go to work. You're going to see people that are fired from their jobs, children that can't go to school. No, this is not about politics. This is about freedom. This is about liberty. And every single person listening to this has skin in the game, one way or another, whether it's your business, whether it's your church, your child, your family, or just your general ability to choose what's right for you from a medical perspective. That's at risk. And so everybody is called to get into this fight.
I'll tell you, that's a pretty bleak future that you just painted if we're not getting in the fight and we just allow what is. So let's talk about a future of possibility. Let's talk about what you're bringing to the table that the other candidates are not bringing to the table.
So if you think about this, as we wind down and open voting has already started, we're a little less than 2 weeks away from this decision. It's time, if you haven't voted, to start getting really serious about looking at the differences between candidates and thinking about what matters most to you. And let's talk about the number one topic, I believe, on the ballot, medical freedom. If medical freedom is important to you, if you fully believe, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, whether you believe in vaccinations or don't, whether you believe in masks or not, irregardless, if you believe in medical freedom, your ability to make healthcare decisions for your family at the dinner table instead of in Sacramento, then you need to do your homework. Because over the last week and a half, 4, if not 5 of the top candidates have come out and publicly stated that they would only lift the mandate at a state level. Well, let me just tell you, if you've looked at the news, if you've, passed a school recently, or even driven through an intersection and you've seen parents and nurses and police officers rallying and protesting for freedom, they're doing it at a local level. And what we need is somebody that will fight to lift mandates at all levels of government, state and local. Otherwise, all of these teachers, all of these parents, all of these police officers, healthcare workers will still be picketing, still be rallying a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. So do your homework. I'm one of the few, if not the only candidates that have publicly said I will eliminate all mandates at a state and local level, and that's critically important.
Didn't you say that? You do that on day one? What did you say? There was a quote on day one,
that's,
before lunch.
One of the favorite questions that people ask candidates is, what will you do on day one?
Right,
it's very simple. I'm not going to do much. I'm going to undo a whole lot, though. Right? On day one, we're going to lift the state of emergency, taking power away from local governments to implement unnecessary mask and vaccine mandates. We're going to eliminate all conversations around vaccine passports and verification systems, and we're going to lift the mandate on our healthcare workers, students, and teachers so they can go back to work and go back to school without overreaching government. That's on day one. That's before lunch, and it's less about what I'm going to do, and it's more about what I'm going to undo that has been unjustly done.
Come on. Okay, over 51% of the people say yes to recall Gavin Newsom. Paint the picture of the next year of our state, the next 2 years of our country.
If he gets...
Yes, if he's yes on the recall. Yes on the recall.
Wait,
yes on the recall. Go on.
Yes on the recall. So if we all vote yes on the recall and we unseat Gavin Newsom, we have the opportunity. California is the rudder of the United States. Where California steers the ship, the rest of the nation goes. And what California does affects the rest of the United States. What the United States does affects the rest of the world. What's at stake here in California is on a global perspective. We have an opportunity to change the trajectory not only of our state, but of our nation. And there are some incredible governors doing incredible things, standing up for freedom, Texas, Florida. And I've often said, people often say, hey, DeSantis is doing some amazing things. Will you bring some of that thinking to the table? I said, you know what my goal is? Not to be like Florida, but to make Florida jealous of California. That's the goal.
I love it. Okay. Anthony Trimino, gubernatorial candidate. Tell me, how can people reach you? How can people support you? How can they learn more about you and follow you?
AnthonyTrimino.com, Anthony, Trimino, AnthonyTrimino.com is our website. You can get activated, or you can visit any social network at Trimino is our handle.
All right, I got it. So, Anthony, call to action. What is your call to action? Your words. We've got over 5 million listeners. Those that are at home on Sunday listening right now, what's your call to action?
It's simple. Every person listening to this needs to go and vote. They need to vote yes on question number 1. Let's unseat Gavin Newsom. Who you vote for next, you have an opportunity, unique opportunity to not just vote politics, but to vote principles and values as well. I hope that you vote for me, but if not, let's put somebody in place that is going to stand up for your businesses, your family, your medical freedoms, and our churches.
You heard him. Vote yes. Vote yes now on Recall Gavin Newsom. You're with us live in Redlands, California at KCAA Radio with your host, Kim Yaeter. We'll be back in just a minute with Take Your Power Back California. Recall Gavin Newsom.
Shout, shout.